Welcome, dear friends, to Life Lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where each week on Mondays and Wednesdays we discuss a section of the Bhagavatam and consider lessons for life. And today we continue with the 10th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll be discussing chapter 46, a really wonderful section of the Bhagavatam. Both today's class and the class that we'll have on Monday concern a most wonderful topic, a most wonderful subject matter that brings much joy to the hearts of the Vaishnavas. So I'm really happy you can join us. If you're watching a recording, then you can join us live on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's New York time. And however that translates into your local area, 6 a.m. in Sydney, Australia, was it 7 a.m. Sydney, Australia, 9 a.m. Auckland or Christchurch, New Zealand, and so on and so forth around the world. So let's see, we have Nikunja with us, joining from Auckland, New Zealand. Nikunja says, Hare Krishna Prabhu from Danika too. Wonderful. She's on school holidays. So Danika is Nikunja's young daughter, and Danika has been joining these classes for 3 years. And so that's quite amazing. And when we recently changed the times with my move to the US, unfortunately it overlapped with Danika's school time. So I'm very happy Danika could join us today. She's on school holidays. Wonderful. Hopefully you have something exciting planned for school holidays. Nikunja further adds, you have daylight saving started already in New Zealand, so it's 10 a.m. in New Zealand now with the daylight savings. If you're joining the class, feel free to drop a little message in the chat. Say hello as we're waiting for others to join and we get started with our class today, discussing a most wonderful topic of Udhava's visit to Sri Vrndavana, a topic that brings much joy. Well, it's sad at the same time, but also it moves the heart, we can say that. It definitely moves the heart. Udhava Mata is with us from Dunedin in the South Island of New Zealand. Thanks for being here. Udhava Mata says, all glories to the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. And we have Gaura Chandra with us as well from New Zealand. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna, Gaura Chandraji. Thank you for joining. Well, let's get started with the class then. Sharon gets the last word in here. Sharon says, Hare Krishna. Welcome, Sharon. Oh, Casey's with us as well. Casey Brooke Wilkinson says, hooray for school holidays from a school teacher. Yeah, so it's being celebrated on both sides, both by students and by teachers as well. Thanks for being here. Casey, thanks for being here with us. Sharon, thank you for being here with us, all of you. Welcome to Life Lessons from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Our topic, Udhava visits Vrindavan. There's a book that's particularly loved by Indradyumna Maharaj. That is a book by Rupa Goswami titled Udhava Sandesh. Now, you might hear, Anika, you might hear, Sandesh. I know what Sandesh is. It's a sweet, a Bengali sweet made from curd and sugar. Actually, Sandesh means message. In Bengal, they call a particular sweet as Sandesh because in the past, when someone would visit relatives or friends, it was a long journey. It would take many, many days of travel, and they would bring sweets from their relatives back home. In time, those sweets came to be called Sandesh. So the sweets would come, a box of sweets, and a message. I miss you, I love you, This is the news from home. So they would send some message with sweets. In time, the sweets themselves came to be known as sandesh. And then over further time, a particular sweet made from curd or paneer came to be called sandesh, which means message. So back to this book, Udhava Sandesh. It's not about Udhava eating sweets. It is a very beautiful poem written by Rupa Goswami of Udhava's taking a message, a love message from Krishna in Mathura to the Vrajvasis in Vrndavana. It's written in a particular poetic style or genre. This is a messenger genre, a messenger taking a message from a lover to another lover in a distant land. Kalidas, a very famous poet, he's written a book some of you may be familiar with called Hamsa Duta. Hamsa, Swan, Duta, Messenger. Swan Messenger. And it's in this style. Generally, the poem involves a lover pining for their beloved and asking a messenger to deliver a love letter. In Kalidas's poem, it's a cloud that he asks to deliver a message to the beloved. And so Rupa Goswami has done, and then part of it is they describe the journey that needs to be taken to reach the beloved. And so Rupa Goswami, he saw these chapters 46 and 47 of the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, where Krishna sends Udhava to Vrindavan with a love letter to the residents of Vrindavan, as providing the perfect content for writing a poem in this style, and hence his book, Udhava Sandesh. That is just beautiful to read. If you get a chance, I highly encourage you to read that book based on this chapter and the next chapter, chapters 46 and 47 of the Bhagavatam. So the class today, the class on Monday, we will discuss these topics of Udhava's journey to Vrindavan and his delivery of a message. In the class on Monday, based on chapter 47, it'll include the sixth of the 6 Gopi songs. So those of you who have been following these classes, you know that there are 6 Gopi songs in the Bhagavatam. Venugit, Pranayagit, Gopi Geet, did I say? Yeah. And then there is the Viraha Geet. Before that, there is another one that's slipping my mind. And then finally, there is Brahmar Geet. So Brahmar Geet we will discuss on Monday. You have to be patient until then, unless you want to go to the Bhagavatam and read yourself and prepare yourself for the class on Monday. So today we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 46, verses 1 through to 49. We'll complete the chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We will discuss this chapter under 3 headings. 1, Udhava's mission, verses 1 through to 13. 2, Nanda and Yasoda's reception and discussions, verses 14 to 28. And then 3, Nanda and Yasoda's reception, and then 3 is Udhava, Nanda and Yasoda's conversation, verses 29 to 49. So let's begin with Udhava's mission. Our previous class, you remember, Krishna was in Gurukul. Now he's returned to Mathura, and he's feeling much pain in his heart. He's feeling deep separation from the Brajbasis, and he doesn't have anyone really to talk to who would understand. In Vrindavan, he has particular cowherd boyfriends. They're called Priyanarma Shakas. They know about Krishna and the gopis, and they sometimes act as go-betweens or messengers between Krishna and the gopis, and they can alleviate Krishna's feelings of separation when they come about, when he's feeling deep separation from Srimati Radharani. But in Mathura, he doesn't have that support. And he's also recognizing that the Brajbasis must be feeling similar separation. And so he asks his intimate friend and cousin, Udhava, to take a love letter, to take news of him to Vrindavan. When we say letter, we think of something that's written, but this was an oral message that Udhava would deliver to the Brajbasis. He wanted to alleviate the pain, the misery caused by separation that his parents and that the gopis would be feeling. And so Udhava, he mounted a chariot. In fact, it was Krishna's own chariot. And he reached Vrindavan at sunset. When he arrived in Vrindavan, he saw the cows returning home to the cowherd village after being grazing in the forest for the day. He saw calves jumping here and there as their mothers followed slowly behind, weighed down by their heavy milk bags. He saw cowherd men and cowherd women chanting Krishna's glories as they went about their different activities. And the village was beautifully decorated with incense and rows of lamps. And all of this presented a scene of exceptional transcendental beauty. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, we can pause here. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, he says, actually Vrindavan was devastated after Krishna left. But Yoga Maya arranged for Udhava to see Vrindavan as it was when Krishna resided there. And therefore, this very beautiful scene, beautiful pastoral scene that he sees on his arrival in Vrindavan. So let's reflect a little more on this mission that Udhava has been given. Remembering the sorrows of the Brajbasis, Krishna, he's been filled with anxiety and he's reflecting, who in the city of Mathura is qualified to deliver my love message? Who will be able to relieve the suffering and to make known to the world the supreme position of the prema of the Brajbasis? And so he's decided to send Udhava on this mission. What were Udhava's qualifications? He was respected by all the members of the Vrishni clan, that is Krishna's family, the residents of Mathura. He was also a disciple of Brihaspati. So he's very, very learned. We can talk about that more in a second. So considering how highly regarded Udhava was, he goes on to become a great diplomat for the Vrishnis and the Yarus. Krishna decides to send him to Braja. He has a double purpose. He wants to alleviate the suffering of the Brajbasis, but he wants the people of Mathura to know about the Brajbasis' exceptional prema. If Udhava were to go and see firsthand the intensity of the love of the residents of Vrindavan when he returns to Mathura and tells them of the prema of Nanda and Yasoda, when he tells them of the prema, of the love of the gopas and the gopis, and how it is thousands of times greater even than their own love for Krishna, they will have to believe it. Even though they may be thinking that they have been granted the greatest fortune and love for Krishna since he's their own relative, and that the prema, the love of Vasudeva and Devaki is the highest, since he's their own son. They'll have to believe Udhava when he tells them about the highest prema of Braj Bhakti. So one of the reasons why Udhava is so highly regarded is that he is a disciple of the guru of the demigods, Brihaspati himself. When Brihaspati saw the sharpness of Udhava's intelligence, he personally taught him all the Shastras. Just as we were reading and discussing in the last class how Krishna and Balaram, they learned all the Shastras from their guru, Sandipani Muni. Udhava, he's learned all the Shastras from Brihaspati. However, Krishna considers that he lacks knowledge in one particular Shastra, a Shastra that is inaccessible even to Brihaspati himself. And this is the topmost knowledge of the science of prema. A prema, a love that controls Krishna himself. And because Udhava is so dear to Krishna, he understands that certainly the Brajbasis will teach him in this particular Shastra, this Prem Shastra. And so he sends him on this mission. And the lesson for you and I is this, that we must seek to become dear to Krishna's devotees, that these highest secrets of prema will be revealed to us as well. That is the goal of our lives. We want to become adept in this very esoteric and obscure science, the science of prema. It is that to which we have dedicated our lives and our existence. So let's go to the next topic then. Nanda and Yasoda's welcome of Udhava, verses 14 to 28. Nanda and Yasoda, they warmly welcomed Udhava into their home. The cowherd king Nanda worshipped Udhava as not different from Vasudeva, from Krishna. He fed Udhava very nicely. He comfortably seated him on a bed. And once he was nicely situated, he inquired from him. He asked him about the welfare of Vasudeva and about the welfare of Krishna and Balaram, now residing in Mathura. Nanda asked, does Krishna remember his friends? Does he remember the village of Gokula? Does he remember Govardhan Hill? He protected us from a forest fire. He protected us from wind and from rain. He protected us from so many other disasters. When we remember his pastimes again and again, we are relieved of all entanglement in karma. And when we see the places that are marked by his lotus footprints, our minds are fully absorbed in him. And they continued. He said, Garga Muni once told me that Krishna and Balaram have descended directly from the spiritual sky. And I have a sense of how this might be true. See how they easily dispatched with Kamsa, the king, how they easily defeated the wrestlers Chanura and Mustika and the elephant Kubaliyapida, and so many other demons as well. As Nanda was remembering Krishna's pastimes, his throat choked up with tears, and at one point he was no longer able to speak. Mother Yasoda, meanwhile, she is hearing her husband speak of Krishna, and the intense love that she feels for her son causes milk to pour from her breasts and a torrent of tears to flow from her eyes. And Udhava, seeing the super excellent affection of Nanda and Yasoda for Krishna, he addresses them. He says, you two are indeed most glorious. You have attained pure love for the absolute truth in his human-like form. Krishna and Balaram are present in the hearts of all living beings, just as fire lies dormant within wood. And these two lords, they see all equally, having no particular friends or enemies. They are free from egoism and possessiveness. They have no father, no mother, no wife, no children. How do you think Nanda and Yasoda are feeling about these comments? They are never subject to birth and death. They have no material body, just to enjoy spiritual happiness and deliver their saintly devotees. They appear by their own sweet will among various species of life, both low and high as well. He concludes by saying, Krishna is not merely your son, Nanda and Yasoda. He is the son of all persons. He is also the mother and father of all living beings. In fact, he is everyone's dearest relative, inasmuch as nothing that is seen or heard in the past or the present or future among moving and non-moving beings is independent from him. How is Udhava's speech registering with you? Is he really consoling Nanda and Yasoda? He's speaking jnana, he's speaking high philosophy. So that we're pausing here for our reflections. Why is Udhava speaking in this way? He's actually in a very difficult position. He says, don't lament, very soon you will see Krishna. And Nanda will say, well, how soon will we see Krishna? Will it be today or tomorrow or in the next 4 or 5 days or 10 days? If you give us the time, then we will be able to maintain our life as from leaving our bodies until that day. But Krishna is just not coming. So you should tell us truthfully that we can know how to respond. Or otherwise, just let our life as leave our bodies. We can't stand the pain of repressing them. So anticipating or hearing Nanda speak in this way, Udhava is considering, what advice can I give them? He considers if they were suffering separation from an ordinary, mundane son, I could enlighten them by saying, why are you immersed in the illusion of family attachment like this? False attachment to family is the cause of so much trouble. Give it up and attach yourself to the Lord. But here, they are attached to the Lord. And so I can't give this advice to Nanda, who is attached to Krishna as his son. He's also not like Vasudeva. Vasudeva and Devaki, when they became aware of Krishna's godly powers, then they became weakened in their attachment to him as their son. They weren't able to embrace him because they stood instead with folded hands. Here is God himself. And so, but this Nanda and Yasoda, they're not like that. When they see Krishna's majestic powers, their attachment to him as their son becomes even stronger. And they think that even the parents of an ordinary son die of misery if they can no longer see him playing in their house. But our good fortune is that the Supreme Lord himself was playing in our house as our son. And now we lament bitterly because we can't coddle Krishna even for a moment. We can't hug him. We can't embrace him. How can we live without seeing our child Krishna in our home? And so Udhava, he is considering all of this. He sees that this not only is the knot of possessiveness tied tightly for Nanda and Yasoda, he also recognizes Krishna has a strong sense of possessiveness towards them as well, even though he's the Supreme Lord. And then he thinks, if I bring Krishna from Mathura, then Mathura is going to be attacked by Jarasandha, so that's not going to work. So what is he to do? He can't tell Nanda and Yasoda not to lament for an ordinary child. He can't tell them not to miss that Krishna is God and he's not that Krishna is God, because that doesn't have the effect of diminishing their affection for him either. And so what he's done is he's decided to try to weaken their prema by discussing jnana. He's decided, I'm going to talk about the super soul. I'm going to talk about how Krishna is indifferent to everything, how he's formless, how he's the impersonal Brahman, how he has no relationship with mother, father, material activities, material body. And to realize this, I'll teach them about meditating on Paramatma in the heart. And so that's why he's speaking in this way. He feels that he's in an impossible situation. And so he goes for this approach of high jnana, in which he's very adept, having learned from Brihaspati. So he speaks about Krishna as the super soul. What's the lesson for you and I? What are we to take from this? Our lesson is this, that lamenting and separation from Krishna is transcendental. It's not like the lamentation of materialists. If someone's lamenting for Krishna, it is a type of spiritual ecstasy. And this is not something to console, but rather to encourage. Rather than saying, don't cry, you say, cry more, as Gaur Govinda Maharaj used to say. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grandfather or grand spiritual master, Madhavendra Puri, was leaving this world, he cried in separation, in the mood of the gopis, feeling lamentation for Krishna, who's in Mathura. Very famously, he said, Ai dina dayadranata he, Mathuranata, kava lok yase, hridayam tad aloka kartaram, daita brahmayati kim karomyaham. Most wonderful. Lord Chaitanya actually used to sing this in kirtan. Sometimes he would become ecstatic as he sung this, and he could just say, Ai dina dayadra, and he couldn't say more than that. What does the verse mean? Oh, my Lord, oh, most merciful Master, oh, Master of Mathura, that's Krishna who's left Vrndavana and now gone to Mathura. When shall I see you again? The gopis in Vrndavana. They're saying, when will we see you again? Because of not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? Kim karomyaham. Udhava Maharaj used to sing this on the streets of Paris with the Harinam party. They had a poem that they would sing based on this. When Madhavendra Puri was speaking this verse on his deathbed, a foolish disciple of his named Ramachandra Puri was very concerned. He thought, oh, Guru Maharaj is not peaceful at death. He's lamenting. So he decided to advise his Guru. He said, Guru Maharaj, do not lament. Just think of Brahman and be peaceful. Madhavendra Puri was so distressed on this foolish advice of his foolish disciple. He told him to leave, and he didn't want to have to see the face of this Ramachandra Puri as he was leaving the world. And so the conclusion, anyone who's developed intense feelings of love for Krishna in separation has achieved a most profound state of spiritual consciousness, prema bhakti. We should take shelter of them as our gurus and seek their association and their guidance. Hence, Udhava's impossible mission. Go and console my parents who are lamenting, feeling separation from me. What is he to say? He went with this interesting strategy of speaking high-level jnana and telling them to meditate on Paramatma, to try to diminish their feelings of separation so that he could keep Krishna in Mathura. Okay, let's go to our third topic then. Udhava, Nanda, and Yasoda's conversation, verses 29 to 49. Nanda Maharaj and Udhava, they passed the night talking about Krishna in this way. And then in the morning, the cowherd women, they awakened, they began to perform their morning worship, they began churning butter, they were singing songs about Krishna as they busily pulled their churning ropes. And the sounds of churning and singing, it carried through the ether, cleansing the world of all inauspiciousness. And when the sun rose, the gopis saw Udhava's chariot at the edge of the cowherd village. And they thought, their hearts stopped, Akrura, the cruel, must have returned. But then Udhava finished his morning duties and presented himself before them. They were pleased because he looked just like Krishna. He's Krishna's cousin. He has a similar complexion. He would wear Krishna's Mahaprasadam clothes. So he's dresses like Krishna. And so initially they thought Krishna himself had returned, but on closer examination, they recognized there was some difference. Their curiosity was certainly aroused, and we will discuss that interaction that they had in the next class based on chapter 47. But some reflections for you and I. Vishwanath Chakravarti tells us that although the entire night passed in discussion, Udhava was unable to pacify Nanda and Yasoda or get them to accept his advice. Nanda, he considered things in this way. He thought, Udhava wants to enlighten us by saying that Krishna is Paramatma and Brahman, that he's the Supreme Lord, but don't we already know that? At Krishna's name-giving ceremony, Garga Muni, he said, your son will be equal to Narayan in qualities. Besides that, we've seen him kill Putana, and Agasura, and Baka. We've seen him lift Govardhan Hill. We've seen him stop this forest fire. I personally saw how the ruler of Varuna Loka offered respects to him. I know Krishna is Narayan, the super soul, and the supreme Brahman. Nonetheless, he's also my son, and nothing can stop me from loving him in that way. Me and Yasoda, we are Krishna's parents. Yasoda is Krishna's mother. I am Krishna's father. And Krishna knows this as well. We've seen many times that if we didn't pamper him, his face would become very sad. If we didn't lift him up on our laps, he would look very, very miserable. If we didn't embrace him, he would be sad. If we didn't kiss him, he would be sad. If Nanda wasn't his if Yasoda wasn't his mother, how would she be able to tie him up when he broke those yogurt pots? Seeing him unhappy and tied up, I went and freed him. And he smiled with so much happiness. Because we are Krishna's parents, Krishna accepts our chastisement and our instructions and even our tying him up, even though he may be the Supreme Lord. And now after Krishna killed Chanura and Kamsa and others in Mathura, everyone's telling him, oh Krishna, you are the Supreme Lord. And Mother Devaki, she's saying to Krishna, I'm your mom. And Vasudeva is saying, I'm your father. And others are saying, we are your uncles. And others saying to Krishna, we are your brothers and your relatives and friends. And everyone's trying to bring Krishna to their homes and inviting him. And they're making him stay longer in Mathura. And then our son, who has such good conduct, he looks at their faces and he falls for their trap. Because of this, he's unable to return to Braja because he has such a generous, kind-hearted nature. And so I suppose Krishna might have told everyone, yes, I am the Supreme Lord, the creator of the universe. Who can be my mother? Who can be my father? Who can be my relative? All the scriptures state that I belong only to the person who does devotional service to me and no one else. And I will go to the house of anyone who's my devotee. And so Nanda, he's thinking in this way, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur tells us, and he concludes, this sort of he's just a child. He might be really smart, but he's also quite young, and he doesn't know the depths of my son's heart. He's taken the literal meaning of Krishna's words. He doesn't understand Krishna's real intentions. And so he's come from Mathura, and he's giving us this advice. But my son, he's very clever. He's spoken correctly. He who renders devotional service to me is my father, and it is in their house that I reside. And so, like this, Nanda, he explains and justifies all the philosophy that Udhava has been giving him. And by the way, these were Krishna's words that Udhava heard from Krishna's mouth as well. And so the lesson for you and I, the most pleasing way of loving Krishna, for which you and I should aspire, is that of the Brajbasis. Yes, there are many ways to love Krishna. Krishna is loved by devotees in Vaikuntha. He's loved by devotees in Dwaraka. He's loved by devotees in Mathura. But the love that is most pleasing to Krishna is that of the Brajbasis. They love Krishna for Krishna, not because he's God, but rather despite his being God. The love for Krishna that they have is for the sake of love itself. It is that which they feel for him. So let's summarize then. We'll summarize in the form of a prayer addressed to Krishna from all of us. I'll recite on all of our behalf. Beloved Krishna, in the echoes of time, we learn from Udhava's mission a lesson profound. The sorrow that gripped the hearts of the Brajbasis, torn asunder by separation from you, was a mirror reflecting your own love. You, the Lord of all, pondered, who in Mathura can bear my message to relieve their suffering and unveil the supreme love of the Brajbasis? Udhava was chosen for his wisdom and respect to become the emissary of your divine grace. As the disciple of Brihaspati, his intellect shone brilliantly, yet even he lacked knowledge of the highest science, prema, the force that governs even you, Krishna. The truth revealed here is that to approach you, we must strive to win the favor of the residents of Vrindavan, for it is they who unlock the secrets of prema, guiding us toward a love transcendent. Buddha sought to console Nanda and Yasoda, your loving parents, torn by separation from their beloved son. But Nanda's words echoed a truth deeper than the ocean. Krishna is our son, our love, our life. Their attachment to you, Krishna, was not weakened by your godly feats. It only grew stronger. They cried out, how can we live without seeing our child? Their love is a divine force, unyielding and pure. Uddhava, contemplating the situation, pondered the impossible task of advising them to renounce their love for the attachment of Nanda and Yasoda and your possessiveness of them were bonds woven by divine love. Uddhava, faced with an unenviable choice, decided to weaken their prema with spiritual knowledge. But even as he spoke of your impersonal aspects, their love remained unshaken, for their love was rooted in the very essence of their being. In these pastimes, we find the essence of love and separation, a love not of the material world, but of the divine. Lamentation for you, Krishna, is not ordinary grief, but a spiritual ecstasy, a testament to the depth of one's love. Let us learn from those who have attained the pinnacle of love for you, Krishna. They are our guides on this spiritual journey. Their love and separation is a beacon, a reminder that the path to your divine grace is through the depths of their hearts. So let me honor some of you who joined after I started speaking. Thank you all so very much for being here. And in the meantime, if you have any further questions or comments or reflections, put them in the chat and we can further churn the nectar here of this 46th chapter of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Alicia is with us from Auckland, New Zealand. Alicia says, Hare Krishna Prabhu, hope you are well. Thank you, Alicia. I'm very well. Happy that you could join us. I know this is during your work hours, so much appreciated that you can make this effort. Adam joining us from Polska. Welcome, Witam. Adam, thank you for being here. Adam sending gratitude and a flower offering. Monica Sharma is with us from Sydney, Australia. Monica says, Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for being here, Monica. We have Shalil Verma with us as well. Shalil says, Hare Krishna. We have Julia. That's Janaki joining us from Hungary. Thank you for being here, Janaki. Must be late where you are. I'm so grateful you could join us. Nonetheless, Raja Lakshmi joining us from Brisbane, Australia. And I'm guessing with Sakirai as well. So my humble obeisances, gratitude and greetings to both of you. Krishangi is with us from Sydney, Australia. Krishangi says, Hare Krishna. Thanks for being here, Krishangi. Madeira joins us, sending gratitude. Thank you for joining us, Madeira. Janavamata has a comment or a question. Janavamata says, thank you again and again for sharing the nectar with us. So inspiring and instructive. These relationships of the Lord and his beloved devotees are so sweet and nurturing to the heart. Even though Udhava spoke of Lord Krishna's opulence to the Brajvasis, it seems he had a very close relationship of friendship and love. How would you describe their relationship? It's a good question. Thank you, Janavamata. Krishna respected Udhava as an advisor. In the Canto of the Bhagavatam, there are different situations where Udhava is asked by Krishna to give his counsel and advice on different situations. So Krishna clearly honored and respected Udhava's keen intelligence. He also, so what is his relationship? His relationship is friendship, but there is an overriding rasa of servitorship. Basically, outside of Vrndavana, then even though 5 rasas may exist, the servitorship and the awareness of Krishna's divinity becomes stronger. And so servitorship starts to take more prominence. And the parental aspect or the friendship aspect, they become somewhat constrained. Even though Arjuna, he has a good friendship with Krishna. It's very intimate and close. But in general terms, outside of Vrindavan, then the freedom of those relationships is somewhat constrained by the awareness of Krishna's majesty and greatness. So Udhava is Krishna's cousin, is Krishna's friend, is Krishna's advisor, but he's very much in the mood of servitorship as well. So always approaching Krishna in a respectful manner to a king or to one's lord. And so that's the overriding flavor in their relationship. So yes, very close, very intimate, very loving, very affectionate, but with an overriding sense of majesty as well. And therefore, he's also described as, even though he knows about Braja and Braj Bhakti, and particularly the love of the gopis, he's also described as a Jnana Mishra Bhakta. And his bhakti is mixed with Gyan. He's very smart, very learned, and so that also plays a strong role in his personality and identity and being and his relationship with Krishna as well. Okay, Janavamata has another question. One more question. We see so many souls coming to Krishna consciousness, and we know Braj Bhakti is the sweetest. It seems some are fixed in their relationship with the Lord Ram and other incarnations. They don't always feel comfortable with the more intimate pastimes. Some even find it hard to accept that demigods like Lord Shiva and Brahma and Ganesh are not supreme. It's quite easy to convince them of the position of the demigods, but it seems like a delicate issue to insist on Braj Bhakti if they don't feel ready. Any advice, insights? Thank you as always. Gaura Bhaktivinda Ki Jai. Thank you for the question, Janava Mata. A very pertinent question to Gaudiya Vaishnavas, to followers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so you've already addressed the demigod one. You say it's easy enough to explain the demigod question. It's clear. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks about Yepyanya Devata Bhakta Alpa Medasa. So devotees of other gods, they have small, lesser intelligence. Those who worship the gods will go to the gods. Yanti Deva Vrta Devan. Yanti Madhya Shinopimam. But those who worship me will come to me. Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam, I am the source of all living beings. So Krishna makes it abundantly clear in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavatam also makes it abundantly clear that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But in terms of the different avatars of Krishna, and Krishna vis-a-vis Lord Narayan and Lord Ram and so forth, how would we explain Krishna's supremacy in that context? We can point to the Bhagavatam, where some different arguments. One is that Jiva Goswami makes, where all the incarnations are described in the first canto of the Bhagavatam. He says, there's a verse, Indradi Vyakalam Lokam Vridayanti Yuge Yuge. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All of these, Ete comes Shamsakalo Pumsa, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All of these incarnations are portions or partial portions of Krishna, but it is Krishna himself who is the Bhagavan Swayam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we can look at references like that to establish Krishna's supreme position. We can also make the argument in terms of rasa. And that is that, yes, God is great, Narayana is great, Vishnu is great, and his different incarnations are great, but the relationship with Krishna is more intimate. And that intimacy is what makes Krishna even greater. So he is the same. The greatness of Narayana and Vishnu and Krishna, it is the same. But there is something special about Krishna's relationships because there is that intimacy. And on that account, we say these qualities of sweetness above Vishnu or Narayana's 60 qualities, there are as an additional 4 qualities of sweetness: Lila Madhurya, Rupa Madhurya, Prema Madhurya, and Venu Madhurya. So Krishna, he has unparalleled pastimes like the rasa dance. He's surrounded by intimate, loving devotees like Nanda, Yasoda, like Lalita, Vishakha, and Shri Radha. He has the most unparalleled, beautiful form that attracts Narayan himself. And he plays a flute. He doesn't carry weapons. He carries his flute. And so this sweetness is on top of the majesty and opulence of Narayan. There is Krishna's sweetness. And so on the principle of rasa and the intimacy of rasa, we'll say that Krishna is supreme. Of course, if somebody's heart is drawn to another avatar, we shouldn't weaken that faith. We may make these arguments, and even after hearing that, if someone's faith is there in Sri Ram and their love is there for Sri Ram on account of his nobility and his character and his virtue, his honor, his word, his truthfulness, then that can be honored and respected as well. Because love has its own reasons. And this happened, this transpired in Chaitanya Lila. There were certain devotees like Murari Gupta and like Anupam, who after associating with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tried to cultivate a love and affection for Krishna and Vrindavan as Gopijana Vallabha, as Govinda, as Gopal. And Murari Gupta and Anupam both. Murari Gupta was an associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip. Anupam is the nephew of Rupa and Sanatan. Sorry, Anupam, the brother of Rupa and Sanatan. Not Anupam, but Vallabha. In either case, after they tried to transpose their affection for Ram to Krishna, they came back in different instances. Murari Gupta came back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, I stayed up all night crying. I was unable to sleep. I've been unable to eat. And Mahaprabhu asked, why? What is distressing you? And he says, because you want me to love Radha and Govinda in Vrindavan, but my heart is with Sri Ram. I tried to give up my affection for Ram, but I can't. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, that's fine. Don't worry. You're Hanuman. In your eternal relationship with Krishna, with the Lord, you are Hanuman. And so it's not right for you to try to give up your affections for Ram. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted that. And similarly, with the brother of Rupa and Sanatan, it was accepted. That's the nature of this devotee. Their affection is for Ram. And so if someone has more affection for Vishnu or Narayan or Ram or Narasimha, we can also honor and respect that. The heart of the Lord is great, and he accommodates all varieties of relationships. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is inviting us into Vrindavan. He is inviting us to cultivate Braj Bhakti. He is inviting us even more to cultivate, at an even more detailed level, he's inviting us to cultivate love for Krishna in the mood of the gopis of Vrindavan. So that invitation is there. As a follower of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a follower of Rupa and Sanatan, we are being, and of Srila Prabhupada, we are being given this invitation. How we respond to it and how our heart moves with it, that is also down to our own feeling and our own sentiment and our own choice as well, what we do with that invitation. So, Janavamata has another question, it seems. It seems that Krishna wanted Udhava, or maybe someone's replying to Janavamata. It seems that Krishna wanted Udhava to taste the sweetness of Braj Bhakti due to his sincerity and service. Did it change Udhava's relationship with Krishna and the residents of Braja after his visit to Vrindavan? Yes, it did. It did. We're going to see that in the next class, in the next chapter. It will conclude, Udhava, he learned something. He's so learned already, but he's going to learn something at the end of his visit to Vrindavan. And he's going to realize, did Krishna send me here to give a message, or did he send me here to learn a lesson as well? So Janavamata is saying, thank you for the insightful answer. From experience as teachers, we also have to be careful when establishing the Lord's supremacy with demigod worshippers. Otherwise, there's a danger we offend and scare them off. Sure, yeah. That's also there. We must be respectful in our dealings with everyone. Everyone we must deal respectfully. It continues here. Otherwise, offending and scaring them. The same with Christians. We need to show the way with love and respect, not sledgehammers and swords. Some nice alliteration there. Absolutely. Our dealings with everyone should be with respect and honor, particularly those of faith. So there, we must respect and appreciate that faith and that relationship that is there with Krishna. In terms of demigod worshippers also, we must encourage them. There's faith that they have in the Veda. They have faith in certain demigods. So we can encourage people also just to hear kirtan and take Krishna Prasad, and for realization to come over time through association with Vaishnavas. That is a Vedic principle, that even people who have materialistic desires, they may perchance come to the Vaishnavas and engage in Hari Kirtan or Hari Shravana, hearing about Krishna, participating in discussion about Krishna, taking Krishna Prasad, seeing Sri Vigraha. And the hope is, so they're approaching Krishna there with material desires. They'll get material rewards. But the hope is that they're doing so in association with Vaishnavas. And that in that association with the Vaishnavas, then the love that the Vaishnava has for Krishna will be conveyed. It will be transposed across to the hearts of even those that are coming with the desire for material rewards or with the desire for liberation. And that is why the Vaishnava is the greater gift to the world, the greater glory. Krishna doesn't give himself freely. We have to, in a sense, we have to ask him, but then who knows to ask? For Krishna, please let me be your devotee. We can only get that idea, that awakening of the seed of bhakti in the association of Vaishnavas. And therefore, Shastra says that association with Vaishnavas is even more important and more powerful than visiting the holy place or bathing in the sacred river. There are verses which says, if you go and bathe in the Ganges without taking advantage, or visiting the holy place without taking the association of Vaishnavas, then your pilgrimage will not actually give the potential, the real fruit, which is an awakening of devotion for Krishna. And so the Vaishnava Sangha, it is so potent and so important, and we must always keep that in mind when we deal with Vaishnavas as well, to honor Vaishnavas, to respect Vaishnavas, to love Vaishnavas, and to invoke the blessings of the Vaishnavas upon us. Nikunja says, thank you, Prabhu. We deeply appreciate these wonderful classes. Thank you, Nikunja. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Janavamata says, what happened to the 6 sons of Devaki? That's going to come up in another class. We'll have to be patient or enthusiastic and go and do the research yourself. I could give the answer right now, but I'm not going to. I'm going to leave it for you either to research or to patiently await. But I'll give you a hint where it comes up. It comes up in the meeting between the Dvarkavasis and Krishna with the Brajvasis at Kurukshetra. So it's coming quite some chapters away. But there's a meeting that happens during the solar eclipse, and the residents of Dvarka, they come to Kurukshetra to bathe in that sacred waters there, the sacred lakes. And then when the Brajbasis hear that the Dvarkavasis and Krishna are going to be at Kurukshetra, they also make that journey. And then that question comes up then. Janavamata says, all good, I did the research, excellent, very happy to hear that. I wish you all well. I wish you a peaceful heart. I wish you joyfulness and satisfaction. I wish you health, and I wish you a deepening of taste for hearing and discussing and remembering Krishna's pastimes, for remembering and discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. I wish you a deepening of taste for attentively chanting Krishna's holy name, and a deepening of taste for serving Sri Vigraha, the deity, for serving Sri Dham, that is the place where Krishna resides, Krishna's temples, Krishna's places, the places of Krishna's appearance and pastimes. And I wish you a deepening of taste for serving Vaishnavas. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Haribol.